Hey Raiders fans, we've got some exciting news for you today, straight from the heart of Raider Nation. Over the last 24 hours, NFL insider Adam Schefter shared some important updates, and yes, they involve our very own Las Vegas Raiders. So let's dive right into what's happening with the silver and black. First off, let's talk about one name that keeps popping up, Tyree Wilson. Schefter mentioned that some players might be traded during the upcoming NFL draft, and Wilson was one of them. Now, this isn't just random talk. There's real buzz around it. He still has 2 years left on his rookie deal, and being the number 7 pick from 2023, teams are definitely watching him. Why would the Raiders consider moving him? It's a mix of things. Different coaches, different systems. He hasn't had the easiest start. But here's the thing. Rob Leonard and Patrick Graham are leading this defense now. And if anyone can help Wilson reach his full potential, it's these two. We've already seen other players step up under their guidance, so the pressure is on Wilson to do the same. Before listening to the latest news, subscribe to the channel, like it, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Let's move on to the new news. So what does this mean for the Raiders? If a trade happens, it could shake up the draft and the team's future. But if Wilson stays and finds his form, he could still be a big part of this defense. Stay tuned. We've got more Raiders updates coming your way. Everyone knew Tyree Wilson would take time to develop. His rookie year was tough, from injuries to learning behind Chandler Jones. But now, this is year 3. There are no more excuses. It's time for Wilson to prove he belongs on this Raiders defense. Now, let's be real. Trading him right now doesn't save much money. In fact, it would cost the Raiders over $7 million in dead cap space. So, unless a team offers something solid, maybe a 4th-round pick, trading him doesn't make much sense. But there's another side to this story. The Raiders have been building depth at Wilson's position. They brought back Malcolm Kunce, who plays on the edge, and Adam Butler, who's strong at defensive tackle. Both roles Wilson has played. On top of that, the team has shown big interest in Jalen Walker, a top defensive prospect. He's fast, powerful, and exactly the kind of player the Raiders are looking for. If they're seriously scouting guys like Walker, that raises a big question. How confident is the team in Tyree Wilson right now? Wilson has mostly been working out away from the team, and while that's his choice, the coaching staff might want to see more commitment. If you're trying to make a big impact in Vegas, you've got to be all in. And there's more. Another edge rusher, Michael Williams from Georgia, is also on their radar. If he drops in the draft, the Raiders could make a move. That would create even more pressure on Wilson's spot. So here's the big question for Raider Nation. Should the team keep Tyree Wilson, or is it time to trade him? It's a tough call, but with the draft coming up fast, the Raiders have to decide whether Wilson still fits into their future. The Raiders have always believed that winning starts in the trenches, and Tyree Wilson, even with his struggles, still has value there. He may not be a star yet, but as depth on the defensive line, he can still help this team pressure quarterbacks. If he can unlock his full potential, this Raiders front line could become truly dangerous. Now, shifting focus to the offensive line. Something that's also critical for success. According to recent reports, Armand Membou, the powerful offensive tackle from Missouri, is climbing draft boards fast. He's now being considered a possible top 10 pick, with the Raiders at number 6 being one of the teams linked to him. Here's the twist. The Raiders haven't shown much direct interest in Membou. No formal visits, no combine meetings, no pro day talks. That's surprising, especially for a team that values strong relationships and thorough scouting. So, is the buzz real, or just a clever smokescreen? Some believe this could be part of a strategy. By leaking interest in a top offensive tackle, the Raiders might be encouraging other teams to trade up, especially those hunting for a quarterback. Remember, when QBs start to slide in the draft, front offices get nervous. That's often when surprise trades happen. So, what's the Raiders' real plan at pick 6? Could it be a defensive talent like Mason Graham? Could it be a sneaky move for a name like Ashton Jeanty? Or are they hoping to trade back and stockpile more picks? One thing is clear. The Raiders are playing their cards close to the chest, and with other teams like the Bears showing interest in similar players, don't be shocked if there's a shakeup early in the draft. The Raiders are at a pivotal point in their draft strategy. With the number 6 pick, they're evaluating whether to stay put or make a bold move. One name generating buzz is Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty. Jeanty has expressed interest in joining the Raiders, noting that pick number. 6 is the earliest he envisions being selected. However, there's speculation that the Jacksonville Jaguars, holding the number, 5 pick might select Jeanty or entertain trade offers from teams eager to move up. While Jeanty's talent is undeniable, the Raiders are also exploring other options. Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe has caught their attention. Known for his athleticism and strong arm, Milroe is seen as a potential fit for the Raiders' offensive scheme. Although he may not be ready to start immediately, his upside is intriguing. The Raiders' front office, led by GM John Spytek, is reportedly considering trading up to secure a top quarterback prospect. This move would signal a commitment to finding a long-term solution at the position. Whether they stay at number 6 or make a move, the Raiders are poised to make a significant decision that could shape the franchise's future. There's been a lot of buzz around the Raiders' quarterback situation, and things are starting to get interesting. Right now, Aidan O'Connell is the guy under center, and while he might not be the flashiest or most athletic quarterback, he brings solid skills to the table. Compared to young talents like Jalen Milroe or Joe Milton, Aidan is definitely more polished right now. But when it comes to long-term potential, Milroe and Milton might have the higher ceiling. So here's the question. If the Raiders are serious about building for the future, why not go after a raw, high-upside quarterback they can develop behind a veteran? Now, there have been whispers about Geno Smith. If Vegas does go in that direction and brings in a vet like Geno to run the show for the next couple of years, it could be the perfect setup to groom a young QB in the background, someone like Milroe. But the Raiders aren't just looking for talent. They're focused on players who come from strong college programs, players who stayed with one team, grew in a system, and learned how to handle pressure. That's what makes a difference in the NFL. There's also been talk about names like Quinn Ewers, Jackson Dart, Tyler Show, even Shadur Sanders. But the real move might come later in the draft. Day 3 could be the sweet spot, especially if there's a run on other positions that pushes QBs down the board. So, could the Raiders take a shot on a developmental quarterback? Absolutely. And if the right name falls into their lap, don't be surprised when Vegas makes a bold move. Let's be real. Taking Jalen Milroe in the second round doesn't make a lot of sense for the Raiders right now. There are too many other areas on this roster that need attention. Using a high pick on a quarterback who might not even see the field for another 2 or 3 years? That's not the smartest move at this stage. This team is building something, and that means being smart with every draft pick. The Raiders kicked off their offseason program this week with 70 players currently on the roster. That leaves room to add more before training camp hits the 90-player limit. But here's an interesting twist. Because of David Agoha, the International Pathway Program player, the Raiders can technically carry 91 players in the offseason. So, do the math. If they draft 9 players as expected, that brings the roster to 79. That leaves space for 12 undrafted free agents, UDFAs, once the draft wraps up. Keep an eye on those names. Every year, there's always a surprise or two that come from the UDFA pool. For a team like the Raiders, that's a great opportunity to find hungry players who are ready to prove something. This offseason isn't just about finding stars in the early rounds. It's about smart moves, depth, and discovering those under-the-radar players who fit the culture Vegas is trying to build. Let's shift gears and talk about one of the most talked-about quarterback prospects in this draft, Shadur Sanders. Now, here's the thing. A lot of fans loved the idea of Shadur in silver and black. Why wouldn't they? He's got the name, he's got the swagger, and he's got potential. But let's look at this through the lens of the Raiders' current reality. Drafting Shadur Sanders means you're planning long-term. He's not a plug-and-play guy. He'd likely sit for at least 2 years before truly being ready to lead an NFL offense. And if the Raiders are serious about being competitive now, using a high pick on a developmental quarterback could slow that momentum. There are also comparisons floating around. Some see Shadeur's ceiling as similar to a Geno Smith type of quarterback. That's not a knock. Geno turned his career around. But if Vegas already has a veteran like Geno on the roster, or someone similar, then using an early pick on a player with the same potential path might not be the smartest move. Still, Shadur is one of the most complex prospects in this class. He's got the leadership, he's confident, he's sharp mentally, but whether he fits into what the Raiders are building right now, that's the question that makes this draft so fascinating. Let's talk honestly about Shadur Sanders and what it could mean for the Raiders. Yes, Shadur has a strong football mind. That's a big deal for any quarterback. And it's true, some team is going to fall in love with that. But when it comes to physical tools, he doesn't exactly jump off the page like other top-tier prospects. That's why many analysts believe he won't go in the first round. Now, here's where it gets interesting for Raider Nation. There's been talk about whether Las Vegas could target Shadur, but not at pick 6. That's way too high. If anything, the conversation is around the second round, possibly pick 37, and honestly, that's not a wild idea. It would make a lot more sense than reaching early. But here's something that caught our attention. Shadur's name hasn't been strongly connected to the Raiders by major insiders. Other teams like the Giants, Saints, Browns, and Steelers have been mentioned. But Vegas? Not so much. Why? It might come down to how teams view his value. Some scouts believe quarterbacks like Cam Ward, Jalen Milroe, or even Jackson Dart could come off the board before Shadur. That's how unpredictable this draft class is. And here's another layer. Tom Brady has been mentoring Shadur for years. If anyone knows his strengths and weaknesses, it's Brady. So, if the Raiders, an organization Brady is now closely tied to, pass on Shadur at 6, that could be telling. Not because they don't believe in him, but because they might see better value at other positions. This is shaping up to be one of the most fascinating drafts the Raiders have faced in a while. Strategy, patience, and vision are going to matter more than ever. Now here's something that isn't talked about enough. Drafting Shadur Sanders isn't just about adding a quarterback. It's about everything that comes with him. Coaches around the league are starting to realize that picking Shadur means you better be confident in your job security. Why? Because if your team struggles, the conversation quickly shifts. People start wondering, is Deion Sanders going to get involved? Let's be honest. Deion has built a strong name in college football, and he's already shown he can shake up the system. If a team drafts Shadur and things go sideways, there will be pressure. Questions will come up about whether Deion should step in, especially if the current coaching staff is on thin ice. That kind of spotlight is something a lot of teams might not want, and for a team like the Raiders, where leadership stability is key during a rebuild, that extra layer of drama could be a real distraction. This is one of the reasons some experts believe Shadur might slip in the draft, not because he lacks talent, but because of the package deal that comes with his name. Teams drafting early often just came off a losing season. The last thing they want is added heat from outside expectations. So here's the big question. Could Shadur fall out of the top 16 picks? Honestly, yes, he could. It's possible a team grabs him late in the first round, maybe in the 20s, but nothing is guaranteed. This is the season of smoke and mirrors. Rumors are flying. Plans change overnight. And that's why the Raiders have to be sharp. They need to block out the noise and stay focused on what truly fits their system. When it comes to the NFL draft, things change fast, and the Raiders need to be ready for anything. One player that's quietly gaining steam is defensive back Jade Barron. And here's why Raiders fans should be paying attention. If Vegas decides to trade back from pick 6, Barron could be high on their radar. He's the kind of player who checks a lot of boxes. He can play nickel, handle safety duties, and has the instincts and versatility to cover multiple roles. That's exactly what the Raiders' secondary needs right now. Let's be real. free safety is still a concern. While guys like Isaiah Polamau and Jeremy Chinn have potential, they haven't locked down the role yet. Barron could be a real answer. If the Raiders slide back to somewhere around picks 11 to 13, Barron could be the guy. He's not a top 5 pick, but in that mid-first round range. He makes a lot of sense. Now, there's been talk of other prospects making a jump, players like UCLA linebacker Carson Sussinger, who some think might sneak into the first round. But for the Raiders, linebacker isn't quite the same priority. Unless a surprise name falls into their lap, defense is likely going to focus on the secondary or possibly the trenches. As always, draft night is full of surprises. But Barron is one of those names that fits what the Raiders need. And if things shake out a certain way, don't be shocked if he ends up in silver and black. Let's shift the spotlight to a position the Raiders absolutely need to address: wide receiver. With limited depth behind Davante Adams and Jacoby Myers, this draft presents a real opportunity to add young, explosive talent to the roster. According to League Buzz, there's a strong chance we see a major run on wide receivers during Day 2, specifically in rounds 2 and 3. Now, what does that mean for the Raiders? It means they've got to be sharp and ready. There's a big drop-off between the early round receivers and those available on Day 3. If they want someone who can contribute soon, they'll need to act before that talent dries up. Names like Jaden Higgins from Iowa State and Kyle Williams from Washington State have come up. These are guys with strong upside, especially for a team like Vegas that needs depth and future starters. With the wide receiver free agent market being weaker than usual, teams are turning to the draft. So don't be surprised if we see a quick rush once the second round kicks off. Now, here's the twist. There's also growing talk that several teams might be looking to move back in the first round. Teams like the Steelers, 49ers, and Seahawks are all rumored to be considering trade-down scenarios. For the Raiders, that could open the door for a strategic trade if the right offer appears. Whether Vegas sticks at their current picks or moves around, one thing is clear: wide receiver is a need. And this draft might be the perfect time to find a future playmaker who can take pressure off Adams and add another weapon to the offense.